Well, the book of Exodus tells the story of the Hebrews' flight from Egypt, how God delivered them from Pharaoh's army at the Red Sea crossing and led them to Mount Sinai, where he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. Biblical scholars have argued for years about the location of these holy sites. Now, one man says he might have found them. Take a look.
The history of the escape of the Hebrews from Egypt has enchanted hearts for centuries. God's miracle-working deliverance at the Red Sea, where waters parted to allow his people through and destroyed Pharaoh's forces behind them, is one of the most memorable moments in biblical history. After that, they traveled to Mount Sinai, where Moses was given the 10 Commandments. But despite centuries of tradition, scholars have argued for centuries about where these divine events actually took place. One man now thinks he has discovered the real site, and what he found is surprising. For centuries, pilgrims have crossed deserts, climbed unforgiving mountains, and followed ancient trails, all for a chance to see one of the Bible's holiest locations, the mountain upon which God came down in fire and smoke to speak with Moses. This mountain, long believed to be Mount Sinai, is where divine law was carved into stone by the finger of God, forever shaping the destiny of Israel and influencing civilizations across history. But what if we've been looking in the wrong place? What if the true Mount Sinai has been hidden, not by chance, but by centuries of misdirection, political motives, and tradition? Today, that very mountain might still exist, its top charred by flames, its foot littered with ancient altars, fissured rocks, and untouchable artifacts of a miracle in the Bible. As you start this journey, get ready to have your perception disturbed. But before we proceed, please do subscribe to our channel for additional dive-ins into biblical archaeology, ancient enigmas, and biblical findings. Let us now search for the truth. Here, standing at what is presumably the top of Mount Sinai, now called Jabal al-Lawz, a researcher studies an unusual blackened boulder. Chipped open, the interior shows a pinkish color, while outside it is charred. This rock sample bound for a Tennessee laboratory may be more than mere geology. It may be tangible proof of the mountain upon which Moses was given the commandments by God while the Israelites below indulged in the golden calf. For millennia, tradition has indicated Jabal Musa in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt as the Mount Sinai of the Bible. It is visited by tourists, mapped by cartographers, and revered by guides. But there is one big problem: the Bible never supports the location. Scripture says that after his flight from Egypt, Moses came to dwell in the land of Midian, where he married Zipporah and became a hired shepherd for his father-in-law, Jethro. It was there, in Midian, not Egypt, that Moses had the encounter with the burning bush on Mount Horeb, otherwise referred to as Mount Sinai. Exodus 3 verse 1 states, "Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he brought the flock to the other side of the desert and arrived at Horeb, which is the mountain of God." Scholars and historians now concur that ancient Midian lay in the northwest part of Saudi Arabia today, not in Egypt. That means the actual Mount Sinai might be on the opposite side of the Red Sea in Arabia, not the Sinai Peninsula. Beneath the Saudi desert, high into the rocks, there rises a mountain known as Jabal al-Lawz, or Mountain of Almonds. Scholars think that this location matches the biblical account of Mount Sinai. On top, satellite imagery reveals a blackened summit in stark relief from the lighter rocks around it. The mountain is not a volcano, and the stones are charred on the outside. This is paralleled by Exodus 19 verse 18, where it states, "Mount Sinai was enveloped in smoke, for the Lord had come down on it in fire. Smoke billowed from it like the smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain shook violently." Below the base of Jabal al-Lawz is a broad, flat plain that could hold thousands, even millions, of people. This is where the Israelites would have camped while Moses ascended the mountain. Exodus 19 verse 2 attests, "So Israel camped there before the mountain." Spaced out over the landscape are inexplicable stone monuments that perhaps identify with God's command to Moses to establish boundaries around the mountain. Take heed that you do not go up the mountain or touch its base. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. Exodus 19 verse 12. Today's adventurers to the site have been shown fenced-off spaces and ancient structures that have not been touched by 20th-century hands. The most astonishing find close to the foot of Jabal al-Lawz is a great stone building said to be the golden calves altar. In Moses' absence, Exodus 32 says, the Israelites created a golden idol and made sacrifices to it. The altar here has bulls and calves carved upon it, not in Arabian local style, but looking like Egyptian art, imperatively implying that foreigners had built a shrine of bull worship here, as described in the Bible. Nearby stands a marvelous natural marvel, a gigantic rock divided down the center, rising many stories high. Evidence of water erosion is seen around its base. It sits in one of the driest places on earth. This meets head-on what God told Moses in Exodus 17 verse 6, saying, "Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." He looks dramatically cracked, but maybe it was forcefully split by God's power. Maybe this is how water fed the Israelites in the desert. If Mount Sinai really was in Saudi Arabia, the path of the Red Sea crossing would have to be reassessed too. Most researchers now believe that Israelites crossed the Gulf of Aqaba and not the shallow Egyptian lakes in the north. The seafloor at Nuweiba Beach shows a natural land bridge, a gentle slope going down into the sea and rising again on the other side, cutting across to Jabal al-Lawz. Exodus 14 verse 22 states, "The children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left." Even scuba divers have asserted they found coral formations that are said to resemble chariot wheels, perhaps what was left of Pharaoh's army beneath the sea. While disputed, these discoveries still fuel debate. Today, the mountain is tightly guarded, fenced in by the Saudi government. Warning signs keep away tourists. Locals are not allowed to lead tourists around, and those who attempt to photograph the region face arrest or deportation. Why is this mountain so important, or so dangerous, that it has to be hidden? Some think the Saudi authorities know they're watching over one of the most important archaeological and religious finds in all of human history. If Jabal al-Lawz is proven to be the actual Mount Sinai, it would authenticate one of the Bible's most pivotal moments, the Exodus. Skeptics for centuries dismissed the account as legend or myth. But finds such as the blackened peak, the petroglyphed altar, the divided rock, and the ancient boundary stones confront that skepticism with tangible evidence. The Bible, it appears, is more than a book of faith, it's a chronicle of historical fact. Somewhere beyond barbed wire and patrolled ways, a mountain remains. It wears the burn of fire from heaven. Beneath it is a history of covenant and uprising, of mercy and wonder. It is where God's voice was heard thundering once, and maybe, the world needs to hear it again. If this incredible journey into biblical discovery has inspired you, subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll continue exploring the lost truths of ancient scripture, uncovering mysteries buried in sand and stone, because the truth is rising once more from the desert.